Marcus stood in the arrivals area of Lima Airport, his Italian leather luggage beside him and his phone buzzing with 17 unread messages. He was 32 years old, worth $63 million, and completely empty inside. 4 years. That's how long he had been away from Peru, for years of sleeping in glass offices, closing deals that made headlines, and building a technology company that changed the way millions of people communicated. To the world, Marcus was a success story. To himself, he was a man running from something he could never quite name. The valley breeze hit him as he walked outside, and for a moment, his carefully constructed confidence faltered. This place still smelled like home. Like salt and jasmine and the churro cart that had existed on the same corner for 20 years. Like the life he had decided he didn't want. He rented a car, something sleek and expensive, because old habits died hard, and drove toward Córdoba, the small coastal town where his mother still lived. He wasn't planning to stay long. A week, maybe 2. Just enough time to prove to himself that he had outgrown the person he used to be. Just enough time to show everyone that leaving had been worth it. The market in Córdoba was exactly as he remembered it. Chaotic, colorful, filled with vendors calling out prices and families picking through produce. Marcus had come here for fresh limes, something his Manhattan apartment could never quite replicate. He was walking between the fruit stalls when he saw her. Sophia. She was holding a child, a girl with long dark curls, maybe 6 or 7 years old, and pointing at a mango. She was laughing, really laughing, the way she used to laugh with Marcus years ago when they would spend entire afternoons doing absolutely nothing. Her hair was longer now, and there were small lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. She wore a simple blue dress, faded from washing, and her feet were in sandals he recognized. She had owned that same pair when they were together. Marcus's legs stopped moving. His lungs forgot how to work. The girl looked up at Sophia and said something that made her lean down and kiss her forehead. The gesture was so natural, so filled with unconditional love, that Marcus felt something break inside his chest. He didn't approach them. He couldn't. Instead, he watched from between the papaya display, invisible, as Sophia selected 3 mangoes and paid the vendor. The girl held her mother's hand, swinging their joined arms as they walked toward the cafe at the corner of the market. The same cafe where Marcus and Sophia used to sit and talk about dreams they would never build together because Marcus had decided his dreams were more important. That night, Marcus sat in his mother's house, pushing rice around his plate while she talked about the town's changes. A new school had opened. The harbor had been restored. Sophia had done so well, the mother said warmly. She had opened a small art studio and was teaching children to paint. She was such a devoted mother to her little girl. Her daughter is beautiful, Marcus's mother said, not knowing she was hammering a nail into his chest. 7 years old now. Smart as anything. Sophia named her Emma. Marcus set down his fork. His hands were shaking. 7 years old. That meant Emma had been born 3 months after he left Peru. 3 months after he sent that final, cowardly text to Sophia saying he needed space to build himself into something worthy of her. 3 months after she had probably watched his plane take off, hoping he would change his mind. 3 months into a pregnancy she had never told him about. Marcus, you're not eating, his mother said gently. Are you all right? He wasn't all right. He had spent 4 years building an empire, and it suddenly felt like a monument to every wrong choice he had ever made. He had returned to Peru as a millionaire, but he was bankrupt in every way that mattered. Life lesson: ambition without presence is just another form of running away. Success means nothing if there is no one waiting to celebrate it with you. Marcus didn't plan to see Sophia again. He told himself he would stay in Córdoba for a week, visit his mother, and return to his life in Silicon Valley where everything made sense. Where success was measured in quarterly earnings and user growth metrics. Where he didn't have to face the ghost of a girl he once loved, or the daughter he didn't know existed. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. 3 days after arriving, Marcus found himself at the same market at the same time. It wasn't intentional, or at least, that's what he told himself. He was buying groceries for his mother's kitchen. Purely coincidental that he chose this exact morning, this exact hour. Purely coincidental that his eyes scanned the crowd until they found Sophia sitting at a small table outside the cafe, drinking coffee while Emma colored in a notebook beside her. This time, he approached them. "Sophia," he said, and his voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Someone younger. Someone who still believed in second chances. Sophia looked up, and he watched the moment recognition hit her. He watched the color drain from her face. He watched her hand instinctively move to Emma's shoulder, a protective gesture that said everything about how much had changed between them. "Marcus," she said quietly, "I didn't know you were back." "Just arrived a few days ago," he said, hating how formal he sounded. Hating that 4 years of ambition and success had turned him into someone who couldn't just sit down and talk to the woman he once loved. "I'm staying with my mother for a while." Sophia nodded slowly. She was composed now, her initial shock replaced with something that looked like resignation. "That's nice. How long?" "A week or 2. Maybe longer." He looked at Emma, who was watching him with curious dark eyes. "This must be." "This is my daughter, Emma," Sophia said, cutting him off gently. "Emma, this is Marcus. An old friend of Mama's." "Old friend." The words hit him like a fist. Emma tilted her head. "Mama said you went to build big things far away." Marcus felt his throat close. "Did she?" "She said you wanted to be very important," Emma continued, innocent and brutal in the way only children could be. "She said some people choose their dreams instead of their people." Sophia's face flushed. "Emma, that's not." "It's okay," Marcus said, though it wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. Your mama was right. He sat down at their table without being invited. Sophia didn't object, though he could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her hand stayed protectively on Emma's back. "How have you been?" he asked Sophia, and the question felt impossibly small for everything he actually wanted to know. "Busy," she said simply. "Happy. Mostly. Emma keeps me that way." "You opened an art studio." "Yes. 3 years ago. It's small, but it's ours." The word ours echoed through him. Everything in her life now was built on an ours that didn't include him. That couldn't include him, because he had chosen to be absent. Emma had finished coloring and was now drawing something new, a house with stick figures in front of it. 3 of them. Mama, Emma, and a figure with no face. "Do you have children?" Emma asked Marcus suddenly. "Emma," Sophia started, but Marcus raised his hand. "No," he said. "I don't. I've been focused on my work." "Oh," Emma said, returning to her drawing. "I think that would be sad. Not having someone to come home to." Marcus excused himself a few minutes later, claiming he had errands to run. But he didn't go anywhere. Instead, he walked to the beach and sat on the rocks, watching the waves crash against the shore. In his pocket, his phone buzzed with notifications from his company. A crisis that needed his attention. Investors waiting for his response. The empire he had built, demanding to be fed. He ignored it all. Over the next week, Marcus found reasons to be in places where Sophia and Emma might be. The library where Emma had art classes on Tuesday afternoons. The beach where they walked on Saturday mornings. The small restaurant where they got ice cream every Sunday. He told himself he was just observing, gathering information, trying to understand the life Sophia had built without him. But really, he was falling in love all over again, with Sophia's quiet strength, the way she encouraged Emma to be brave and creative. With Emma's sharp questions and her fierce loyalty to her mother. With the life they had built together, small and imperfect and so much richer than anything his money could buy. One afternoon, Sophia finally approached him directly. She had seen him at the beach, reading a book he wasn't actually reading, watching them play in the sand. "Marcus, we need to talk," she said, and there was sadness in her voice, but no anger. Somehow, the sadness was worse. They walked away from Emma, far enough that she couldn't hear them. "Why are you really here?" Sophia asked. "Not in Cordoba. Here. Following us." Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. The truth felt too big, too heavy. "I needed to see you. To understand." "Understand what?" "What I left behind." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. You don't get to do this, Marcus. You don't get to come back and insert yourself into our lives because you've had some realization about what you missed. Emma, she's finally stopped asking about you. She's finally accepted that you're not coming back. And now you're here, confusing her, making her hope. Is she mine? He asked. The question had been burning inside him since his mother mentioned Emma's age. Sophia's face went very still. What? Emma. Is she my daughter? The silence that followed was answer enough. They sat on a bench overlooking the ocean, far from the market and the cafe and any place where anyone might see them together. Sophia had left Emma with her mother, and Marcus could see how much it cost her to be away from her daughter, even for a few minutes. Yes, Sophia said finally. Yes, Emma is your daughter. Marcus felt the world shift beneath him. He had suspected it, but hearing the words aloud was different. It made it real. It made all his choices irreversible. When did you find out? He asked. 3 weeks after you left. I had gone to the doctor because I wasn't feeling well, and they told me I was pregnant. Sophia stared out at the water. I couldn't believe it at first. We had been careful. But then I remembered that weekend in March, before you left. We were reckless once. Marcus remembered. He remembered everything. I tried to reach you, Sophia continued. I called your number, but you had changed it. I sent you an email, but you had already told me you needed space, that you couldn't be distracted by anything while you were building your company. So eventually, I stopped trying. Sophia. Let me finish, she said quietly. Please. He closed his mouth. I was scared, Marcus. Terrified. But I also knew that if I told you, you would feel obligated. You would come back out of duty, not love. And I didn't want our daughter to be born from obligation. So I made a choice. I decided to have Emma, and I decided to build a life for us without you. You should have told me, Marcus said, and his voice was rough with emotion. Why? Sophia turned to look at him, and her eyes were fierce. So you could choose between your daughter and your dream again? So you could feel guilty for the next 4 years while you built your empire? I watched you, Marcus. I followed your company's progress online. I saw your interviews where you talked about how you had no distractions, how you were completely focused on your vision. Would you have really wanted to know that you had a daughter waiting for you? The question was a knife, and it cut deep because she was right. I would have wanted to know, he said anyway. No, Sophia said. You would have wanted to feel like a good person. But knowing and being present are different things. Emma didn't need a father who resented her for derailing his ambitions. She needed a mother who could give her everything. And I could do that. I did do that. Marcus thought about Emma drawing that house with 3 stick figures. Mama, Emma, and the empty figure with no face. Had she been drawing him without knowing it? What does she know about me? He asked. The truth, Sophia said. I told her when she was old enough to understand. I told her that you were a good man who wanted to do great things, and that sometimes people's dreams take them to places where they can't also be there for the people who love them. I didn't make you the villain in the story. I didn't tell her that you abandoned us. I told her that sometimes love isn't enough to keep people together, and that wasn't anyone's fault. It was just the way things were. But it was my fault, Marcus said. I made the choice. Yes, Sophia agreed. You did. And I made the choice to let you go without trying to hold you back. Both of our choices led to Emma. So in some way, she's the result of everything we both decided to do. They sat in silence for a long time after that. Marcus tried to process the magnitude of what he was being told. He had a daughter. She was 7 years old. She had his eyes, his mother had said. She was clever and brave, and she colored pictures of houses with missing fathers. Does she want to know me? He asked finally. I don't know, Sophia said honestly. She's guarded. She's been hurt by the idea of you before. When she was younger, She used to ask when you were coming home. I had to teach her that sometimes people don't come home, and that wasn't her fault either. She's learned to protect herself from that disappointment. What if I want to be there? Marcus asked. What if I want to be her father? Sophia looked at him, and there was profound sadness in her expression. Then you have to understand that being a father isn't about grand gestures or showing up when it's convenient. It's about being present when it's boring and hard and unrewarding. It's about choosing her every single day, even when she's difficult or when you have important work to do. It's about being consistent in a way that I'm not sure you know how to be. You don't think I can do it, Marcus said. I don't know if you can do it, Sophia corrected. And honestly, I'm not sure I can bear to watch you try and fail. Because if you fail, Emma will be the one who pays the price. Marcus understood then the full extent of what his silence had cost. It wasn't just about missing 4 years of his daughter's life. It was about the walls Sophia had built around them both to protect them from the possibility that he might come back, might make promises, and might leave again. He had left to build an empire. In doing so, he had lost a kingdom that was infinitely more valuable. I need time, Sophia said, standing up. I need to think about whether letting you into Emma's life is the right thing to do. You have a lot of thinking to do as well, Marcus. Real thinking. Not about how you can fix this or what you can buy to make it better, but about whether you're actually ready to choose someone other than yourself. She walked back toward the town, leaving Marcus alone with the ocean and the weight of all his broken choices. That night, he sat in his mother's house and looked at the 17 unread messages from his company. The crisis that had been waiting for his attention. He deleted every single one without reading them. Then he called the executive team and told them he was taking a leave of absence. For how long? His CFO asked, alarmed. Marcus looked out the window at the lights of Cordoba, at the town that he had tried to outgrow and had failed. As long as it takes, he said. As long as it takes to become the man my daughter deserves. Marcus woke up at 5 in the morning and couldn't fall back asleep. This had been happening every day for 2 weeks now, his mind too loud, his body too restless, his conscience too awake. He lay in his childhood bed, in his mother's house in Cordoba, and stared at the ceiling while the sun rose over the ocean. His phone sat on the nightstand, silent. He had turned off all notifications. His company was running without him, and surprisingly, it was running fine. Better than fine. His team had risen to the occasion, and the empire he had spent 4 years building was proving to be a structure that could stand without him constantly propping it up. That realization was both freeing and deeply humbling. He got out of bed, made coffee, and walked to the small plaza where he knew Sophia and Emma would be. They came here most mornings before Emma's school, sitting on a bench and eating pastries while Emma told her mother about whatever dream she'd had the night before. Today, Emma was describing a dream about flying. And my wings were made of stained glass, she was saying, her small hands moving through the air. So when the sun came through them, they made rainbow shadows on the ground. That's beautiful, Sophia said, and she meant it. She always meant it. Even in her sadness, even in her guardedness around Marcus, Sophia had a way of making Emma feel like her thoughts were the most important things in the world. Marcus approached them slowly, carefully, like he was approaching a wild animal that might bolt if he moved too fast. Good morning, he said. Sophia looked up, and he could see the exhaustion in her face. She wasn't sleeping well either, he realized. The presence of him in her life again was disrupting everything. Hi, she said simply. Emma didn't greet him. She had grown quieter around Marcus over the past 2 weeks, more guarded. Sophia had warned him this might happen, that Emma had been hurt by the idea of him before, and his actual presence was more complicated than the abstract notion of a missing father. I was wondering if maybe Emma would like to do something today, Marcus said carefully. After school. Nothing major. Maybe ice cream, or a walk to the beach. Whatever she wants. Emma looked at her mother, waiting for permission, waiting for guidance on how to feel about this man who was trying to insert himself into their carefully constructed life. You should decide, Sophia told Emma. What do you want to do? I want to go to the art studio, Emma said, and Marcus heard the test in her voice. Mama's art studio. We're working on a project about families. If you came, You'd have to paint with us. Marcus felt Sophia's eyes on him, watching to see if he would balk at this invitation. A successful tech entrepreneur probably had important things to do. A man building an empire wouldn't waste time painting with a 7-year-old. But Marcus had already learned that his priorities needed to be completely reimagined. I would like that very much, he said. The art studio was small and bright, with paintings covering every wall. There were works by Emma, bright, chaotic, full of joy and wild color. There were works by Sophia, more controlled, more deliberate, but no less beautiful. And there was a new painting, stretched across an easel, waiting to be started. It's supposed to be about what family means, Sophia explained, handing Marcus a paintbrush and a palette of colors. Everyone gets to add something to it. Emma started it yesterday. He looked at the canvas. Emma had painted 2 figures holding hands in the center, Mama and Emma, he assumed. Around them, she had started painting other things. A house. A garden. A beach. But there was a large empty space on the left side of the canvas, waiting. That's for you, Emma said quietly. If you want to be part of it. Marcus's hands shook as he dipped the brush into the paint. He wasn't an artist. He had no idea what he was doing. But he began to paint anyway, not a figure, but a bridge. A long, winding bridge that connected the empty space to the figures of Sophia and Emma. What's that? Emma asked, watching him work. A bridge, Marcus said. So that even when I'm far away, there's still a way to cross back to you. Emma considered this seriously. Then she added her own touch, a light at the end of the bridge, glowing warm and golden. That's so people don't get lost, she said. They painted together in silence for the next 2 hours. Sophia added clouds and sky to the background. Emma added flowers around the base of the bridge. Marcus kept painting, slowly, carefully, trying to translate everything he felt into brushstrokes. When they finally stepped back to look at the finished piece, Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. It wasn't a masterpiece. It was imperfect and chaotic and beautiful in the way that only honest art could be. It's good, Sophia said softly. But that night, when Marcus was alone in his mother's house, reality crashed down on him. He had spent the day painting with his daughter, yes. But what about tomorrow? And the day after that? What about when his company called him back? What about when his investors demanded his attention? What about the practical realities of being a single father figure in a small town when his entire life had been built around being somewhere else? He called his best friend, David, who was running the company in his absence. We need to talk about my return, Marcus said. Of course, David said carefully. Are you ready to come back to work? No, Marcus said. I'm calling to tell you that I'm not coming back. At least not in the way things were before. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. What are you saying? David asked finally. I'm saying that I'm stepping down as CEO. I'm saying that you're going to run the company now. I'll remain as an advisor and board member, but I'm not going to be the face of it anymore. I'm not going to be the one making the major decisions. And I'm certainly not going to be the one building the next empire. Marcus, this is crazy. This is your company. You built it from nothing. I know, Marcus said. And it's still my company. But it's not my life anymore. My life is here now. My life is my daughter, and the woman I should have chosen, and a small town by the ocean where people still know my name for reasons other than my net worth. After he hung up, Marcus sat with his phone in his hand and realized something terrifying. He had just made a decision that would anger his board, disappoint his investors, and probably tank his stock price. And he felt lighter than he had in 4 years. But that lightness lasted only until the next day, when he tried to have a longer conversation with Sophia about what came next. I want to be here for Emma, he said. I want to be her father. And I want, he paused, trying to find the right words. I want to know if there's any possibility for us. For you and me. Sophia looked at him with an expression that broke his heart. Marcus, you just gave up your entire company, she said. You just made the biggest decision of your life, and it's been less than 24 hours. How can I trust that this is real? How can I trust that 6 months from now, when the novelty of being a small-town dad wears off, you won't resent me for being the reason you gave up your empire." "I won't." "You can't promise that," Sophia said firmly. "Because you don't know. People change, Marcus. Circumstances change. And I've already watched you choose ambition over love once. I can't watch it happen again. Emma can't watch it happen again." Marcus realized then that no amount of grand gestures could fix what had been broken. No amount of sacrifice or changed decisions could erase the fact that he had already made the choice once. He had already shown Sophia who he was when he had to choose between his dreams and his heart. "What do I have to do to earn your trust again?" he asked. "You have to be boring," Sophia said, and there was a sad smile on her face. "You have to show up to soccer practice when it's not exciting. You have to help with homework even when you have other things to do. You have to be the person who makes Emma lunch and braids her hair and listens to her talk about her day, even when none of it matters to anyone but her. You have to be present in the small, unglamorous moments of her life. 4 years, Marcus. Not weeks or months. Years." "I can do that," Marcus said. "Maybe," Sophia said. "But I can't risk it until I'm sure. So here's what I'm asking. I'm asking you to build a new kind of relationship with Emma. A gentle one. A patient one. No pressure. No expectations. Just a man who shows up and is kind and consistent. And if you can do that for a year, a full year, Marcus, then maybe we can talk about what more might look like." A year felt like an eternity to Marcus. But he nodded anyway. "Okay," he said. 1 year. 1 year later, Marcus sat in the small audience of Cordoba's elementary school auditorium, watching his daughter perform in a play about the life cycle of butterflies. Emma was a caterpillar, and she was absolutely terrible at acting. She forgot her lines twice and got distracted by a loose thread on her costume. But when she emerged from her paper cocoon in the final act, transformed into a butterfly with wings painted in the same stained glass colors she had dreamed about, Marcus felt tears stream down his face. Sophia sat next to him, and when Emma spotted them in the audience, her face lit up with such joy that it made everything worth it. Every boring moment. Every difficult conversation. Every time Marcus had wanted to run and hadn't. Every small choice to stay. After the play, Emma rushed into his arms, still wearing her butterfly wings. "Did you see me, Dad?" she asked. "Did you see when I flew?" The word Dad still did something to him. Even after a year of hearing it, it still felt like grace. "I saw you," he said, lifting her up and spinning her around. "You were perfect. You were absolutely perfect." Sophia watched them together, and there was no guardedness left in her expression. There was just tenderness. Over the past year, Marcus had learned so much about what it meant to be present. He had learned that fatherhood was mostly about logistics, making sure Emma had lunch for school, that her homework was done, that she had new shoes when she outgrew the old ones. He had learned that love was shown in the small moments, in remembering that she didn't like onions and always wanted extra cheese, in braiding her hair in the mornings even though he was terrible at it. He had also learned about Sophia in a new way. He had learned that she was funny and kind and had a sharp mind that she had put aside for years to focus on raising Emma alone. He had learned that she forgave him, not because she had decided to, but because she saw him trying, genuinely trying, to become the man he should have been from the beginning. The morning after the play, Marcus took Emma to school, as he did most mornings now. His apartment, a small place with a view of the ocean, was in between Sophia's house and the school, so the routine made sense. But it was more than logistics. It was his way of being part of Emma's life. It was his way of choosing. "Dad," Emma said as they walked, holding his hand, "Mama said that maybe you could come live with us. She said that families don't have to be big or complicated. They just have to be people who choose each other." Marcus's heart stopped. "What do you think about that?" he asked carefully, not wanting to influence her answer, wanting her to know that her opinion mattered. "I think it would be nice," Emma said seriously. "Because then you could help me with my paintings, and you could tuck me in at night, and you could be there when I wake up from bad dreams." That evening, Marcus asked Sophia to meet him on the beach. They walked along the shore, not holding hands, not yet, but close enough that their arms sometimes brushed together. "Emma told me what you said," Marcus began. She wasn't supposed to say anything, Sophia said, but there was a smile in her voice. I'm glad she did. Marcus stopped and turned to face Sophia. I know I don't deserve this. I know I made choices that hurt you and hurt her. But I also know that I'm not the same man who left 4 years ago. I'm not asking you to forget what happened. I'm just asking you to let me try to be better. Not perfect, but consistently better. I know you're trying, Sophia said softly. I've seen you try. Every single day for the past year, I've seen you choose us. And that matters, Marcus. That matters more than anything. Is that a yes? He asked. To living together? To being a family? That's a yes, Sophia said. But not because you became rich or powerful or impressive. It's yes because you became patient. Yes because you became present. Yes because you chose us every single day, even when it was boring and hard and unrewarding. Marcus kissed her then, and it was different from the passionate kisses they had shared 4 years ago. It was gentler, deeper, built on a foundation of actual trust and real change rather than just attraction and promises. 3 months later, Marcus officially moved into the house that Sophia and Emma had been living in for years. His expensive apartment in the city sold quickly. He had less use for it now than he ever had. His company continued to thrive under David's leadership, and Marcus found that his role as advisor was more rewarding than being CEO had ever been. He attended board meetings twice a month, spent time on strategic decisions, and then came home to his family. Home. That word meant something completely different now. On Emma's 8th birthday, they had a small party in the garden. Just family and a few of Emma's friends. Sophia made a cake from scratch, and it was lopsided and imperfect. Marcus helped Emma blow out the candles, and she made a wish that she refused to tell anyone about. Later, when Emma was asleep, Marcus and Sophia sat on the back porch looking at the ocean. Do you regret it? Sophia asked. Giving up your empire? Stepping back from the company you built? Marcus considered the question seriously. No, he said finally. I regret the years I lost. I regret that Emma had to grow up without knowing me. I regret the pain I caused you. But I don't regret coming back. And I don't regret choosing to stay. What about in 10 years? Sophia pressed. What if you get bored? What if you want more? I have more, Marcus said, and he meant it. I have a daughter who trusts me. I have a woman I love. I have work that matters. I have a life. For the first time in my life, I actually have a life instead of just a career. Sophia took his hand, and they sat together in comfortable silence, watching the lights of the town twinkle below them. The next morning, Marcus took Emma to school, as he did most mornings. But this morning felt different. This morning, he was not running from something. He was running toward it. He was running toward his daughter's laugh, toward Sophia's smile, toward the small, ordinary moments that made up a real life. As he watched Emma disappear into the school building, her backpack bouncing on her shoulders, Marcus realized something profound. He had spent 4 years trying to build something that would make him important. Something that would prove he was worthy of love. Something that would make him matter. But he had been wrong about what it took to matter. It didn't take an empire. It took showing up on a Tuesday morning to help your daughter with her homework. It took remembering that your partner wanted her coffee a certain way. It took being present for the small, boring, unglamorous moments of someone else's life. True success wasn't measured in dollars or users or market share. It was measured in the eyes of a child who called you dad and trusted you with her heart. It was measured in the forgiveness of a woman who had every right to keep you out but chose to let you in. It was measured in the number of mornings you woke up and chose love instead of ambition. Marcus had returned to Cordoba as a millionaire, but he was leaving that version of himself behind. He was returning as something far more valuable, a father, a partner, a man who had learned that presence is the greatest gift we can give anyone. And that gift, he was discovering, was infinitely more precious than any empire he could ever build. Life lesson: success is not defined by what we accumulate or achieve, but by the quality of our relationships and the consistency of our presence. The most important moments in life are often the smallest ones: a shared breakfast, a homework session, a bedtime story. Choosing to be present in these moments is the real measure of a life well lived. Ambition without love is empty achievement. Love without presence is an empty promise. But love combined with daily, boring consistency, that is the foundation of a meaningful life. Summary: 1 year after committing to change, Marcus has built a genuine relationship with Emma through consistent, patient presence. Sophia agrees to let him move in when she sees he is not just making grand gestures, but showing up reliably in the small moments that matter. Marcus steps back from his role as CEO and learns that real success is measured not in wealth or power, but in the trust of a daughter and the love of a woman. He discovers that the life he built in Cordoba is infinitely more valuable than the empire he left behind.